My name is Erik, and I'm going to show you how I make pizza on the grill. To start with, you'll need the following ingredients and cooking tools. Pizza dough. You can make your own, but most grocery stores sell balls of dough, and that's what I use for convenience. A 1-pound ball will generally make about 2 pizzas. Plum tomatoes. 1 tomato per pizza. Olive oil. Garlic. You can buy fresh, but most stores sell chopped in a jar that's more convenient. Basil. Dried is okay, but fresh is better. Mozzarella cheese. Parmesan cheese. Toppings of your choice. Be creative. This part is completely up to you. My favorite is hard salami, but I also like to use Soprasetta, Anchovies, or Artichoke Hearts. Flour, non-stick cooking spray, crushed red peppers. A grill, cutting board, knife, spoon, pizza paddle, pizza cutter, aluminum foil. A few hours beforehand, I start by taking the dough out and cutting the ball in half on a floured surface. You can use the whole ball if you want, but a 1-pound ball will generally make about 2 12-inch pizzas. If you're only making 1 pizza, you can refrigerate the remaining dough for a few days. I then reform the dough into a ball and place it between 2 sheets of aluminum foil coated in non-stick cooking spray. Or you can leave it on the cutting board and cover it with one of the sheets. Set it off to the side in a warm place to rise for a few hours. The reason for this step is that pre-made dough is usually cold or sometimes frozen, and I like to let it come to room temperature and rise a bit prior to forming it into a pizza. This will make the crust lighter and airier when baked. When you're ready to bake, start by turning on your grill and bringing it up to 400 degrees. Now, get your pizza paddle and cover it well in flour. This part is very important. If you don't use enough flour, the pizza will stick to the board and not slide off when you put it on the grill. Now retrieve your dough ball. It should be nice and puffy now and probably has doubled in size. Place it on the floured board and put some more flour on top of the ball. Now carefully pick the ball up and turn it and stretch the dough to form it in a circle large enough to cover the paddle. This can take some practice. Try to stretch the dough so it's even in thickness. It's okay if it's not perfectly round. You can use a rolling pin if you'd like, but that will push out the air bubbles and leave a much flatter, thinner crust. Now set it off to the side while we get the rest of the ingredients ready. Take your plum tomato and cut off the ends. Now cut it down the middle into 2 even pieces. Then cut it again into quarters. Now place the quarters next to each other and cut the tomato into even 1/4-inch slices. We're aiming for bite-sized pieces here. Once done, set that aside. Next, get your basil. You can skip this step if you're using dried basil, but I highly recommend fresh. This is the one ingredient where fresh makes a huge difference. I buy basil plants from my local grocery store and keep them on my windowsill. They're usually only a few dollars, and you can keep them a few months if you keep them watered. Place the basil on your cutting board and wad the leaves up into a ball and dice them with your knife. Set aside with the tomatoes. Next is your toppings. If you're using larger meats like salami, you'll need to cut it into smaller bite-sized pieces. Much like the tomatoes, bite size is key. Too big, and when you go to eat the pizza, huge chunks will pull off. We're aiming for a nice mix of toppings with each bite. Once that's ready, set aside. Now, retrieve the dough you've just stretched. Start by adding some olive oil to the crust. I use about 2 tablespoons. Try to avoid using too much as it will make the pizza soggy and oily. Then, add about a teaspoon of chopped garlic. You can add more or less to taste. Now, with the back of your spoon, lightly spread the oil and garlic over the entire pizza. At first you'll think you don't have enough, but if you keep working it lightly around in a circle, it will cover the whole pizza. Next, evenly distribute the tomato slices. After that, add the fresh chopped basil leaves. Next, add your toppings. I like to add crushed red peppers next, since I like my pizza with a kick, but this step is entirely optional. Next comes the cheese. I add about a handful, or about 1 cup. I prefer whole or 2% mozzarella. But you can add sliced buffalo mozzarella if you're feeling fancy, or if you're watching your figure, you can go low or no fat. Next, I add some Parmesan cheese. You can use the kind that comes in the plastic jar, but I prefer freshly grated. Before we move to the grill, first test your pizza by shaking the pizza paddle. The pizza should slide back and forth easily. If not, lift up the pizza edges a little and add some flour on the board until it moves freely. Now it's time for the grill. Open your grill and carefully and slowly slide the pizza onto the grate. This can take some practice to get perfect and may take a few tries. Don't worry if the pizza becomes deformed a little. It'll still taste great when it's done. Close the lid and set your timer for 10 minutes. Baking temperatures and time will vary depending upon your grill and may take some trial and error. If the grill is too hot, the crust will burn before the cheese and other toppings cook. Too low and it may take longer and may not cook evenly. I've found about 10 minutes at 400 works well with my grill. Also, depending on your grill, if you have certain areas that are hotter than others, you may need to rotate your pizza once during cooking to evenly cook the crust. Now sit back with a glass of wine and enjoy while waiting. Once the time is up, open the grill and with a metal spatula, carefully lift the pizza up a little to check underneath. If it's done right, it will be crisp without being burnt, and the toppings will all be bubbling. Now, lift it off the grill with the spatula and place it on the cutting board. You'll notice I didn't use the pizza paddle for this step. It's much easier to control the pizza when coming off the grill using either a spatula or tongs. And since the crust is nice and crisp, it will be surprisingly easy to pick up and it won't even fold. Now, you can cut your pizza. I use a pizza wheel, but a large knife will work just as well. If your pizza is round, you can go with the classic 6 or 8 piece triangular slices. However, if your pizza turned out an odd shape, or more of a rectangle, you can slice it into squares. And that's it. Pour another glass of wine and enjoy. Oh, and don't worry if you make a mistake. As long as you don't burn it, it's pretty tough to screw up a pizza. Honestly, once you get the hang of this, it is a quick, easy, and absolutely delicious meal you can make any day of the week. I hope you enjoyed my grilled pizza video. Thanks for watching.